Hey, I'm in the saddle again. How are you? I don't know if you actually know me. My name, well, yeah, I have a name. They call me Mario. Some people call me Quabli. Different. It's interesting about names. I know it's something that we have, right? But that's not necessarily who we are. And yeah, just thinking about that, reflecting on who, how, the what, right? These I am, and it's all I am. I'm energy. I am minerals. I am light. I am emotions of gratitude, grief, praise, right? These and how I do it, I am actually in a lot of states, different states of how. Right now, I mean, it's this how I am and how are you is really what I want to say is how are you, and with the real curiosity, how are you? Because for me, that if I can ask myself how am I, like what, not necessarily like how do I feel, but how am I accessing my own mind, right? Like am I doing it through observation, careful observation, study? Am I managing? Am I really considering like the totality of the big picture, and am I striking a balance between the details? Am I finding where I can improve, the strategy? Yeah, this is the question of the day. I'm just here reflecting. I'm in the saddle. I'm traveling. I'm in this automobile. There's fire here in this automobile, and I'm able to move in a way that is, it's really, I don't know, sometimes I think it's definitely not natural, right? It's definitely not a good, it's not good for the mind, right? But am I able to transcend it? Am I able to see it in a way that I wouldn't, that my mind and my body is, I need my imagination to see it, right? Because as I see it, as I'm traveling in this traffic, I can have a sense of resistance or flow, right? And the intention, what is the intention? Like, am I intending to remain in this, or am I intending to not only leave but contribute to in some way, so that this what has become seemingly like a gigantic, enormous, unstoppable force of industrialization, and like, is it possible to keep it in check? Is it possible? That's the question, like, that I run with curiosity. And how are you, right? When I ask myself, how are you? How are you doing? Is what I'm doing as I'm in this, like, am I here to bring about a great change, a sense of grieving, a sense of praise for the old, simple, balanced life with high efficacy? I mean, even just this language I'm speaking, like, is it even able? Am I even reaching, who I want to reach? Because I don't know. I mean, it's what is here seems based on interest now. It's not so much. I mean, the reach that I'm gonna have is based on, are people interested in it, and if they're interested in a life that is full of stress, right, and full of a difficult, challenging, this kind of energy that is is sort of rude, right? It has a lot of it's a very abrupt, and there's like a sense of competition and getting ahead, and there's all this like foolish. What I see is foolish, right? But I feel like people want that in some level. That's how they want to be. That's how that. So the objective is like to respect people, respect myself, right? Like if my body wants to be lazy, I have to sort of respect it in some sense, right? If I don't want to work out, I have to respect it to some extent. But really, like, I want to be healthy, right? I want to be happy. And I know my own allegorical understanding is like, as I go underneath these bridges, there's something overhead, right? There's something that I'm not even conscious of, right? There's a whole other stream, and it's like this a constant flow, right? That's there, and I'm actually trying to reach all the different parts of it, right? To bring it all together in one. So how do I get to that place, for one? And I know definitely it begins with intention, right? It begins with a sense of knowing, a sense of I am, imagination, and understanding time as well. Time is I mean, if we think about time, it can be so heavy, right? Like such a big, massive thing that it even makes a person like get to a sense of put you to sleep, like where you don't really, it's just too incomprehensible. Yeah, because time is not even what we think it is anymore. It's time is more. Now we realize that time can be collapsed, right? There really is no time. I mean, and it's foolish to say that too, because we're living in this kind of construct of time where if we don't respect time, then how are we going to achieve things, right? And get to a place that we want to be at. But time is really something, when you look at the world through a scientific lens, and which is really a spiritual way of looking at things. The spirituality involved in looking at time. There's a real gentleness, a real natural. I want to say natural, because what I mean by natural is like there's a sense of allowing, things, and flow. But I mean, that's the feeling I get when I think of time, because it's something that's so, it's a part of the every, like, fiber, every cell, right, is experiencing time in a different way. And even when you get into the deeper, deep parts of you, you start to get into this quantum sense of things, and from a spiritual realm, we're really getting to a place of transcending our own emotions, transcending our identity. Like, you're getting into a very, like, energy, understanding ourselves as energy, where we're in multiple places at once. This is like, what in some cultures call the near and the far, right? It's very, very tender, and then it's like super vast and broad, far away. There's a very sweet closeness to it, but at the same time, it's like, it's an expansive, universal feeling. And this is what quantum physics is sort of talking about. They're not talking about the emotional part of it. It's just looking at the design, right? The illustration of it. But I like to look at it as a consciousness, and there's a macro and a micro, right? There's a small part, and then it resembles the bigger part, and so above, so below, right? These concepts really help me, and I don't know, maybe they're not necessarily helping me. Maybe they allow me to make things too relative, right? That's something that the ancients do talk about. Be careful with this relative type of understanding or philosophy, because it's what they call a slippery slope, right? And in the old way, they would call it slippery earth, where there should be texture. There should be a texture to things, where it's not just anything can just be micro, macro, and it's all the same. So there's a balance of really giving your attention and appreciation, right? These are where the emotions come into it, the gratitude, the real subtle, being able to hold space for this subtle, deep value and appreciation on the moment-to-moment basis. Yeah, so just reflecting on how am I? How are you? How are you? Right? This question, how am I? I would like to ask myself, how am I? And even though it's awkward, to have this conversation with myself, with you, as an audience, I want, looking at what it's important to realize that as you're seeing, that changes things, right? That changes the awareness, because I was talking with a friend about this psychic energy, right? Like, where you can read someone's mind, where you can feel and have a sense of knowing, and you didn't at first realize that was what was going on, but all of a sudden you're in this contact with something that is like potential, right? And you may feel that you can read what the other person's thinking, and then you second guess it, right? You think like, oh no, but we don't realize the way we are, how we are, sometimes changes things, and it changes the way we are moment to moment, and it sort of reflects and banks, like there's a backboard, and the basketball, it banks and ricochets into the basket, right? So sometimes it's a goal, and sometimes it's a miss, it's a brick, right? You throw up a brick. But this is like psychic energy, right? Too. Sometimes you're hearing and feeling something, and it's very sweet. It's very clear, and then it changes, right? It's sweet and clear, like water. Like you know what it is, but then it change. Because you have this attention, this unspoken attention on it, you're directly in conversation with that energy, and so that may change it, and you may absorb some of that conversation as you change, like, because you're directly changed by this conversation. As you're witnessing, you're changing me, right? As you're hearing me, as I feel you hearing me, as I feel myself being heard and feeling the confidence, that's streaming from somewhere. That's streaming from, yes, from me, but it's a part of you, right? And so this is this entanglement, quantum entanglement. And so we are connecting and changing and evolving moment by moment. And yeah, there's a part of it that obviously is unseen, and it seems like it's hidden, but is it really? Like, I might say something in the next few words that possibly that's where the conversations usually go. Maybe they don't. I might say something that completely resonates with your thoughts right now, that and you're like, how did that happen, right? Almost like magic. But it's not magic. It's the nature of the world. The ocean, is part of us, right? We are this fire, this ocean, this light, this sunlight. This is who we are. That's how we are, right? So there's definitely like a flow and expansion going on, and this exponential quality to life. So things quicken, they move fast. It's like lightning, right? I like to look at the images of nature and see a deeper part of our relationship, right? The beauty, not just like what we want to achieve and the possibilities, but the possibility of what already is, and how to appreciate it, how to praise it, and or even grieve it, right? Because in a moment, as you turn away, it's a part of you is fading and passing on, right? And what was a precious moment is no longer here. It's gone. But in a sense, it's the beauty of that is that there's really no difference between the past and the future. It's all the past and the futures are sort of all happening at the same time. And as we see directly into this light, right? As if we could come from the perspective of light, everything would be standing still. And because light is moving at such a certain speed, right? That everything is like that. And then if we look at on a quantum, let's talk a little bit quantum physics, right? And this is probably like not necessarily keys that help you. Maybe it's a little confusing because I seem to be talking about one thing and then not really completing the whole thought, right? And that's why it, listening can be one of the things about listening is that you have to trust it's really important to trust yourself and feel what you can, right? Because what's coming from me is an energy, right? Even if what I say is a complete thought, it sounds really clear and spectacularly explained and undeniable with the, I have the charts, and I have, everything in place to make a convincing argument. It's still there's still something that in you, right? I have something. There's a part of you in me, and there's a part of you in me, and a part of me in you. And we're like other forms of each other, right? So like that, the profoundness of that, taking that moment by moment awareness and that possibility, right, of a sense of like this psychic ability, right? This, what we think of, or psychic energy, where you're holding that space for us to be completely matched in our frequencies, in our fields. As we both access the field, it's just knowing, right? And this is a natural thing. This is a natural thing. When we experience laughter, we're all laughing at something. We take it for granted, that we are these very connected beings. So let's see if I even post this. This is a long, reflective. Actually, it's not too long. We're about 20 minutes in. And how can this benefit you? Let's see. In your day, when you're traveling, and you might feel like you need to get somewhere and there's time, there's a limited amount of time, and there's so many things that you have to focus on. But just take a moment to think about your mind, like as almost like a canvas, right? Like if you could put, or multiple canvases, right? Like how many canvases is your mind? Is it infinite? How many can you keep track of? How many canvases can you see right now? Like 16 canvases, 13. Like I know for sure you can see 4, right? One in the front, one in the side, right, left, and right behind you. Okay, then there's got to be like 4 more, right? Maybe there's one above and one below. So there's 8, and then that's 10. Maybe there's one inside. There's 11, right? And then within that, there's like another 8, right? So you have another circle inside the circle. So that's like 11 plus 8, that's 19, right? And maybe you have a third one, outside of that. 19 plus another 8, it's like 27. 19 plus 8, 27, right? So you have like 27 windows. You have 3 rows of the 4 directions, cardinal directions. You have above, you have below. Now you can keep going up, right? You can create all. You can now you go to the next floor up, and you got another, 8 times 3, 24. Add to your 27, so you got 50. 51? No, wait. 24 and 27. 40. Yeah, 51. So you got like 51 windows, right? And then you go lower, you got another 24. So you have 55, 75 windows, right? So you go below, you got all these windows, canvases to paint. So you have 75 canvases to paint. 70, and each of those canvases, you can become very familiar with these canvases, right? What it is that you see, you can put text there, just like you're gonna do your Instagram, video. You're gonna pull up. Okay, I'm gonna put audio. I'm gonna, you're creative. You're a creative person. Just a moment.